Hey, I want to welcome you to week 6 of our study on giants. Today, in our study of giants, we're talking about the giant of the future and defeating this giant. I think this giant is more like a serpent that slithers up and wraps itself around us and begins to choke us, and we don't even realize it. We get so caught up in worrying about the future that we forget about today. I do believe the giant of the future is real. And what I like to call the giant of the future is the what ifs. Well, what if this happens, or what if that happens, or I don't know what's going to happen here. You know, my son, I remember when he was getting ready to drive, Satan tried to tempt me with the giant of the future. Well, what if he's in a wreck, or what if it's like, God, we've sent him to driver's school. We've spent time with him, but more importantly, you're always with him. And I'm asking you to protect him. No matter what happens, I'm trusting you with my son's life. We can't get caught up in the what ifs, because what happens, the giant of the future wants us so focused on the future that we miss today. We forget to focus on what's happening today. And so today, as we close out this study on giants and focusing on the giant of the future, I want us to leave David's life, and I want us to look at the life of Noah, because I think Noah really helps us understand focusing on today. Just like David and Goliath or David and Bathsheba, Noah and the ark is one of the most well-known stories in all the Bible. Probably almost everyone has heard of it. From centuries on, the story of a man and a flood has been told. Even if it's not about Noah, it sounds so close to it that people have heard about that. God commanded Noah to build an ark that he might save people. He says a giant flood's going to come, and so I want you to build this ark. You know, Noah didn't worry about the flood. In fact, he probably said, God, what is a flood? He'd never seen anything like that. He said, I don't even know what a flood is, but he didn't focus on the flood. He didn't think, all right, you know, there's this natural aqueduct over here. Maybe if my sons work on building the ark and I go over there and start digging out the bottom of the aqueduct, that'll flood the world. No, he didn't think about that. He just focused on building the boat. God said, I'm going to want you to put 2 of each kind of animal that I will send to you. He didn't focus on getting the animal. He didn't think, well, you know, maybe we ought to work on this type of a trap, and we know this animal likes this type of bait. He didn't worry about that. He just worried about building the boat. And he didn't think about, hey, how are we going to feed these animals? Maybe we need to start a farm. And maybe he did, or maybe he bought the crops from other farmers. We don't know that. But one thing we do know, for 125 years, he focused on building the ark. Day in, day out, building that boat for 125 years. And his faithfulness led to the salvation of all humanity. He saved humanity. But how many people? 6. 125 years of being faithful, and he didn't lead anyone to come to God. They didn't listen, they didn't trust. But his success was based on being obedient to build the boat. He let God move on people's hearts. He let God bring the water. He let God bring the animals. He let God bring the supplies that they would need. I'm guessing that maybe he talked with God about the most important invention that was given on the ark was a shovel. Where else were they going to put all the manure? They needed to move it someplace, and so a shovel was important. He let God lead him in what he needed to do. He figured out how to be obedient. And our obedience will always lead to the blessings of others. Isn't that what happened with Noah? Because he obediently built the ark, the world was blessed. God wiped away a generation of evil, wicked people, and he brought about a new beginning that showed us that by coming into the ark, you can be saved. And today our ark is Jesus Christ. That by coming to him, we can be saved and delivered from all our sin. That we can live for him in a glorious life, and that we can live obediently today. It's okay to prepare for the future. As I shared before, my son began driving, and we knew he was going to need a car, so we started years before that saving up to get him a car. We didn't just wait, okay, he's 16, he got a license, what are we going to do? We prepared for the future. I'm 56 years old. Sometime in the next 20 or 30 years, retirement's going to approach. I can't wait till then to start thinking about retirement. I have to prepare for it now. But there's a difference between preparation and fear. Fearing the future will just keep you from focusing on today. Fearing the future gets you thinking about the what ifs and the somedays and the out there somewhere, this is going to happen, and I don't know what to do, and I'm afraid, and we forget to keep building the boat, a blessing that God has called us to build. You see, God has equipped you specifically with a particular purpose. That's why we have advanced track at this church, so that you can know God and find freedom. But find your purpose and then go out and make a difference. God created you to make a difference. And so your obedience to do what He has called you to do is a blessing from someone else. You are literally building an ark of blessing that God is going to bring people to you, and it's going to take them from where they are to where He wants them to be. Then they'll exit your ark of blessing, and they're going to start building theirs. As you influence them, they're going to influence others. When we are obedient, our yes is always a blessing to someone else. We have to be obedient. You see, people need your obedience because their eternity is depending on it. Your obedience, my obedience, will change eternity. As you begin your discussion time tonight, there'll be several questions for you to discuss, but one is this: how has God made you? Do you know your purpose? Do you know your gifting so that you can find your place in the church and purpose in the world? Do you know how God has, what personality God has given you and the spiritual gifts He's given you so that you can build a boat of blessing to help other people, that you can change someone's eternity and you can help them enjoy the same life with Christ and the love of God that you experience every day?